أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. أحبتي في الله, my dear brothers and sisters, we'll continue with the Seerah Al-Atira, the best of the stories, the story of our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the history of Islam, the life of the best human being walk on the earth, that we learn from it and extract lessons from that to our life. And today we'll talk about Al-Fatra Al-Madaniyah. The previous sessions that to cover somehow about the Meccan period. And from now on, from today and the coming one, we'll talk about the Medina period. And does that matter to distinguish between Mecca period and the Medina period? It does. As each one has its own uniqueness and significance. 13 years of Mecca and then another 10 years in Medina. And even looking at the verses that look revealed in Quran, the verse of Quran revealed in Mecca versus the verses revealed in Medina, you will see different classifications. And that is understood as merely the topic being addressed in the Quran in Mecca is the topic of Aqidah and maintaining the faith of the believers. And even talking about some of the rules and regulation, it's attached to that aspect. Yes, Salah was ordered at the last few years of the period of Mecca, but Salah, one of the pillars that's attached to Aqidah, to the point that even some scholars spoke about the person that neglected his Salah, even after believing that it's his obligation, but he, because of laziness or other reasons, other excuses, the scholars debated, is that person is still a believer or not? So even that action is attached to Aqidah, to Iman and Kufr. So I'm just saying that the main focus on the period of Mecca. When you come and talk about the period of Medina, where the rules, the ahkam, is now the establishment of the state. Need clear rules to monitor the relations. You need explanation how they deal with each other and how to fulfill their duties. So the topic is different. It's about ibadat and muamalat. Still the aqidah is coming with them, but already been established in Mecca. The verses are revealed in Mecca. Now when it comes to Medina, it's different. When you talk about the period of Mecca, that was halat istid'af. The case of the believers was not that strong in that society. And that required certain condition and orders. However, when we talk about the state of the believers in Medina, that's a state of dignity, strength, which required different ruling as well. So for example, we talk about jihad. You're not going to find that in the verses of Mecca that when Quran revealed. But that's in the state of Medina. Because that's what the requirement even of establishing the society. You have to have that strength to protect that society from any harm could come from outside. So, حالة التمكين, it's not like حالة استضعاف. They're different dynamic and different needs. And that's being reflected, on those orders. I hope that will be clear. So, that's why the scholars, when talk about Mecca, it's not like when we talk about, Medina. The rules that in Mecca, it's not like the rules in Medina. And that's for great wisdom. Today, mainly, we're going to focus about 3 points. That the Prophet ﷺ was clearly emphasized about focusing on those in order to establish the society. 3 main points. And actually, if we want to learn from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, those points that we have to focus on them when we go anywhere, establishing any community. What's a community needs? A place that brings them together. Law and regulation that monitor their relations in between. And chemistry, love and unity. Correct? So that the 3 things that they needed. When a community, they will say, let I gather, but there's no place that brings them together where they have their activities. They're not going to go anywhere. They have to have a place. Here, in some Muslim community, when they come, at the first, some churches offer a place for them at their basement. Which that's a good example of good interaction between Muslims and others. But it's not enough. It might was okay for a certain period of time. They need the urgent need of their place, that they own it, they have it. So anyway, they need the place, they need the law, and the regulations. Otherwise, problems will arise. And the regulation, not only just between them, but the whole society. They need to establish that policies and those rules and those understanding. And they need to strengthen their relations. What's the point? They have the place and they have everything, but then they hate each other and they're not working together. So these are three main things. And that's what Rasulullah was emphasized about. When he arrived Medina and he arrived in the 12th of Rabi' al-Awwal, as Mas'udi mentioned in his book. And when he arrived Medina, I'm not talking about Quba. Quba, it's outside Medina. When he arrived Medina, after he stayed 3 or 4 nights in Quba, he came to Medina. When he arrived Medina, the first things he decided to build a mosque. So the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina and he released his camel. He released his she camel, Naqa, and each one of the Sahaba want to grab the camel to host the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet said, leave it. It goes by the will of Allah. Just leave it. And the camel went until stopped at a place that owned by two orphans. And those two orphans were in the custody of As'ad ibn Zurara. And by the way, As'ad ibn Zurara, and he was a leader in that society, he used to gather people and pray in that place. It's exactly the same place that chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when Allah gave the order to that camel to stop there. The moment that camel stopped there, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari took the opportunity and he grabbed the camel of the Prophet to his house, and he said, you are my guest. So the Prophet stayed there around 6 months in that house of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari died in an old age in a battlefield, in jihad, at the gate of Constantinople, Istanbul nowadays. And his grave is there. They called it Sultan Ayyub, which is Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And what's amazing, when the Prophet stayed in the house of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, at the first place, they insist, Abu Ayyub and his wife, and they ask the Prophet to come up, as they have like a kind of like a second floor. It's not a second floor, but something like this. I don't know what they called it in your culture. Yeah. So the Prophet, he said, no, it's easier for me and for the guests that want to come to me to be there and not in the upper level. But one time happened, they broke their jarrah, which something made from clay, and they used to carry the water in it. So subhanallah, because they're afraid that water will drop down and might hurt the Prophet. They found their clothes, they moved their abaya and their clothes and something they have it just to bring that to it, and to suck that water, just to protect that water comes down. And at that time they felt bad, said no, we have to insist on he has to come up. So they really insisted him, and then he went up. They used to cook for the Prophet ﷺ, and they will wait that he will finish his food. And when they receive the plate from the Prophet ﷺ, they will eat, and they will look for where the Prophet ﷺ placed his fingers to eat from the same plate that the Prophet ﷺ used to eat from it. And that's called tabarruk. والتبرك بآثار الأنبياء متفق عليه جائز. That to seek the barakah blessing from the evidence of Prophet, that all scholars agreed upon. That's not like tawassul, that's a different story. But tabarruk, that's something that for sure that comes from the Prophet, that has as a sort of barakah, will be no issue with that. Actually, the Prophet himself, when he shaved his hair, he distributed his hair among the Sahaba. And he gave this side to this Sahabi and this side to other Sahabi. And we know exactly. One time Khalid Walid was looking for his qulunsuwa, his helmet, special helmet. They said, forget about it. It's an old one. Take this, a new one. He said, no, 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 I need mine. And he was looking for it until he found it. Why is that? Because he kept it, hair of the Rasulullah, the one he gave it to him, and the Rasulullah gave him the hair that one is in the front, in his banks. And he kept it in a pocket inside his helmet. He said, I have to have it. And I never enter the battle without having that helmet with me. So that's a Sahaba. In the day of Hudaybiyah, when the Rasulullah told him, give me the water, and he made the wudu, he made it in purpose. And when he was making wudu, that almost no single drop touched the floor. No single drop went to the ground. The Sahaba, they were grabbing the drops of the water of the wudu of the Prophet ﷺ. There are many stories in the hadith. Even they took the sweat of the Prophet, like Hani, and she used to mix it with their perfume and get in the barakah. And sometimes, like they take the aba'ah, and one of side of aba'ah, they put the water in it, and they mix that water with the other water, and they give it to their kids or sick people as a something for a barakah from the Prophet ﷺ. There's nothing wrong about that. It's a sign of love, and nothing wrong with this. Yusuf told his brothers, take my shirt. اذهبوا بقميصي هذا. What is this? اذهبوا بقميصي هذا فألقوه على وجه أبي يأتي بصيرا وأتوني بأهلكم أجمعين. So there are many evidence in the Sunnah that's about the Athar al-Anbiya. However, people exaggerate nowadays, and they claim this is for the Prophet, which is not, and they do this and that. Then that's why the scholars, as the way of protecting the Aqidah, they try to refrain people from doing that. But it doesn't mean that's not allowed or Islamically or from the Seerah of the Rasulullah. No, I have hundreds of evidence that is permissible and no issue with that. But just as a matter of protecting the Aqidah of people, sometimes scholars taking extra step of precaution. Have you heard about the Shajaratul Ridwan? Shajaratul Ridwan. That Allah mentioned in the Quran. لقد رضي الله على المؤمنين إذ يبايعونك تحت الشجرة. Have you heard about it? That shajara is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al-Fatah. Where is that shajara? Yeah, but where is that shajara nowadays? Sayyidina Umar made the order for Sahaba to cut that tree, because he was afraid the people, they go and visit and they might like seek the blessing where it should not be, So protecting the Aqidah is our number one. But doesn't mean, as I said, there's no like barakah for those places that the Prophet ﷺ visit or the things that he wear. It's a khair and barakah of that. So we have to differentiate between that, So this is nothing wrong with this. Anyway, so Abu Ayyub and his wife, they used to follow where the Prophet ﷺ placed his fingers. And one day they look at the blade and the Prophet ﷺ returned it as it is. What happened? They're looking for the place where the Prophet ﷺ put his fingers, but they returned as it is. And then they inquired the Prophet ﷺ, did you really return because you don't like this type of food? He said, no, this contains garlic. And I'm the person making munajah. Angels comes to me and I make a munajah, and I don't want to eat that one because that might hurt them by having that bad smell. So because I was afraid that will change the smell of his mouth, so he avoid that type of food. And he said to them, eat. it doesn't mean that it's makruh to eat it. So when you look at it, it doesn't mean it's undesirable or dislike. No, no, that's something special about the Rasul himself. So do not say, you know what, oh, I love tumia and I love garlic, you know what, and the Rasul he didn't like it, so I will stop it from today. No, no. It doesn't mean that's a sign of love or sunnah. No, the Rasul himself explained why he's not doing it. And actually he passed it to them and said, Amma antum fakulu, if I'm talking about you, you are permitted to eat from it. So we have to look at the sunnah and we interpret it in the right way. So we should not say, you know what, oh, since our Sallam refused to eat from it, then we should not eat from it. This is not the point. And that should be clear. As if you remember at the beginning, at the first session, we said the action of our Sallam falls under three categories. All the action of our Sallam, none of it, it's makruh or haram. He will do either mandub or wajib. Yes, generally speaking. If something permissible, something is being encouraged, or something is must. However, that falls under one of three. So could be that action, a'malun ta'abudiyah. It's an act of worship. Or the action, a'malun jibiliyah, fitriyah. That's an action by his nature. So he liked to eat this type of food, he disliked to eat that type of food. That's just part of his nature. His tribe, they used to eat that type of food, so he grew up eating that or not. This is part of his nature. And the third type, a'malun khususiyah. Action that are permitted only for him, are special for him, not for others. So there are three of those, and you can go back where I gave some examples of this. So the Prophet built a mosque, and since that mosque was for those orphans, the Prophet refused to take it without paying the cost of it. So they said, no, we want that free in the sake of Allah. The Prophet refused that until he would pay. So they pay 10 dinar. When I say dinar, that means from gold. 10 dinar, that's the cost for that land. And that land at the time, there are some ghardak trees and there, some old graves for mushrikeen. So the Prophet asked that graves to be removed and cut and prepare that land for the mosque. So they built Masjid al-Nabi. And they made the direction facing Baytul Maqdis, as that was the first Qibla. And he remained facing Baytul Maqdis for 16 months until the order that would be changed. And by the way, the change of Qibla happened in Sha'ban, in the middle of Sha'ban. That the change of the Qibla of the Masjid of the Prophet ﷺ and all other masajid. So they built it facing Baytul Maqdis. And it was very simple masjid. 100 feet long, almost in every direction. So how many feet here in this area? Who's good in the estimate? So you're talking about maybe 30 meters, yes? 30 meters. This one I think 20 meters, like long. Yes? 18 or 20, not even 30. Yeah? And anyway, just to give, قداش 20 متر. More? So Anyway, like around 100 meters. So it was not that big. And what just holes, not that even high from each side. Like you talk about 7 feet as a wall. And from mud, simple material. And it was covered just small portion of it in the front, like a few lines with trees and leaves. And most of it was sand and small stones. That's the ground of it. So it was very simple building. However, was the best building at the time, because somebody said, "Oh, why the masajid like complicated nowadays?" No, was simple building, but was similar somehow to their buildings, their houses, and even better. So that's how it was simple life at that time. And the Prophet ﷺ himself was helping and carrying the stones on his shoulder. And he was encouraging the Sahaba, and they were together making rajas. Rajas, like a line of poem, like just one line, and they repeat it together. So it's not like a poem, it's just one line just to encourage each other. This is Allahumma la khayra illa khayrul akhirah. Allahumma la aisha illa aishul akhirah. Fansur al-ansara wal-muhajira. Farham al-ansara wal-muhajira. Every simple word. Allahumma la khayra illa khayrul akhirah. Fansur أو فرحم الأنصار والمهاجرة. So they go together, they repeat to encourage each other, people when they work together, they encourage each other. There are a group of Egyptian working on a church. They building a church and as a workers, and they were Muslims. So they encourage each other and they work. He said, Salli ala nabi, Salli ala nabi. The contractor, he was upset. Said, please, we don't want this word here. This is a church. So they encourage each other. Salli ala nabi. So one of them wrote on the wall, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, salli ala Muhammad, and they start saying, Bussi al hutah, Bussi al look at the wall, look at the wall. They remind each other, instead of saying salli al nabi or make salah, look at the wall, and they wrote it on the wall. Subhanallah. But the fact they encourage each other. So Sahaba, they made that masjid very simple. And it's good to make the masjid simple. Yeah, it's not recommended to make zakharif, and a lot of things could distract you. No images, no pictures, no statues. Simple building, that should be. I have no issue with using technology, using good material to make it more appealing, more comfortable, but it's not good to do something could distract you. This is not the point. Okay? Very simple, make it simple. And the masjid remained like that until, the time of Sayyidina Uthman. So, time Sayyidina Bakr, just to maintain it and they fix it. In the beginning, they used to have one door, but then when the women and men be together, so they open another door to make it more easy for accessing. So one for men, one for women. They make it easier. And by the way, at that time there was no partition. There's no partition between men and women. They were all in one hall, one place. And the back of the masjid for a group of Sahaba called Ahlul Suffah. Okay, what is Suffah? I told you about the masjid has a little cover in the front. That cover became at the back when the Qibla changed. And they made another cover in the front. So the cover of the back, that called Sufa. And underneath, where the Sahaba sleep there in the mosque. And those people, they sleep in the mosque, they call them Ahlu as-Sufa. The people, those they sleep under that little roof. So they were there. And some scholars, they count around 600 of them. And in one time, there were 300 of them. Let me share with you one of the stories happened. It was not planned to talk about, but let me share with you to see the life, the simple life of the people of Medina. One time, Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu was striving out of hunger. And he holds stones around his stomach because he does not like that sound that comes with the empty stomach. They try to hide, but it's not that easy. He said sometimes even I flip around here and there on the ground to make myself handle that hunger, but I couldn't. So one day, stood at the gate of the masjid, and when Sayyidina Abu Bakr was leaving the mosque, he stopped him and he said, I want to ask you about one verse. So he asked him, and Abu Bakr Siddiq answered him, and he left. But in fact, he was not aiming for the answer. He was indirectly presenting himself to him to see his case. He might help him. But because of his dignity, he doesn't want to ask, and he does not want to beg, asking for something. And then he stopped Umar. And at the same, he asked him a question, and Umar answered him, and he left. But then when he stopped the Prophet ﷺ realized what Abu Hurairah looking for. The Prophet ﷺ, not just smart, he's socially intelligent. That's what's missing many of those people. And that's what the leader needs, to be socially intelligent. He said to Abu Hurairah, follow me. Follow me. So he went to him. He went with him. And they went to the houses of Prophet, one after one. They couldn't find something to eat. That's in the Medina of the Prophet and the houses of Prophet. Until they come to one of those houses, they said, yes, our neighbors gifted to us a bottle of milk. Let's share it. So the Prophet asked Abu Hurairah, go and invite the people of Sufa. Abu Hurairah said, Sam'an wa ta'a. We heard what you pay, our beloved. And he went. While he's walking, thinking of that bottle, how many one would drink from it? But he has nothing to do but to fulfill the order of the Prophet. And he invited them. They came. And he said, Abu Hurairah, serve them. I'm serving them, that means I'm going to be the last. Because this is their tradition. If you're serving, do not eat, do not drink. You're going to be the last. It's sam'an wa ta'a. We heard what you pay. And he started serving them one after one. And everybody was satisfied. Can you imagine? This is the barakah of the Prophet ﷺ. And then the Prophet ﷺ told Abu Hurairah, drink now. Abu Hurairah, drink now. And he was drinking. Drink now, was drinking. He said, my beloved, I'm full, I cannot take more. And then Prophet took it and he had the rest of it. Subhanallah. This is the life of the Medina, the life of those great people. This life never deceived them. They were having very simple life. And that's what makes them simple people and humble people. They are seeking the akhirah. And that's why the Prophet he said, I didn't afraid that dunya will be open for you. He said, sorry, he said, I didn't afraid that the poverty that will have negative impact on you, but I'm afraid that what dunya will be open for you. And that's what happened. Think of it. Think of it. We are eating and drinking and living the life of the kings at that time. They would describe them how they live, and that's the type of any person, anyone among us, the type of food and drink and the way how we are doing, the way how we live. If the Sahaba, they would come in at this time, they would think they are in Jannah. Wallahi, they would think we are in Jannah. You know, it's the way how we live in the life. But still, we still complain, and we're still not even satisfied. Their life was very, very simple. كانت لا توقد النار. As our mother Aisha said, in the house of the Prophet, the crescent passed, and another crescent passed, another crescent passed, without having the fire, this fire on in the life of on the house of the Prophet, without cooking. That's the metaphoric form of that. لا توقد النار, which she meant they were not cooking for 3 months. Today we'll take a dry food, something simple. Most of their food was al-aswadan. Who can translate this word, al-aswadan? The translation, who will translate it, al-aswadan? Al-aswadan, so normally we say aswadan, that means two blacks. No. Aswad here means the common type of food that's in every household at that time. The two commons. As-sawad al-a'zam, the common. This is, the sawad, that means the common used. What's a common at that time? Water and dates. That's it. Water and dates. Nothing else. Subhanallah. And they lived for that for months. Now, going back, to the first things that Prophet did to build the masjid. And then the Sahaba that took care of the masjid. Who have been in Medina? MashaAllah. Do you saw the size of the mosque nowadays? You saw the size of the mosque nowadays? The size of the mosque nowadays is the size of the city at that time. The size of the mosque is the size of the city. When they talk about Saqifah to Bani Sa'id, that used to be outside the Medina. When when they talk about like Uhud, it's outside. The size of the mosque, like almost the size of Medina at that time. So you could imagine how, mashallah, the expansion is taking place. They saw the Rawdah and a few columns this side and the other side, from the back and from the side. That was the size of the Masjid of Prophet at that time. Not even the front lines, not even the other sides. No, that's it. And then slowly, that's how it took place. Maybe at the time we'll talk about those stages, inshallah, and even maybe we'll present for you the commentary to have that attachment, to that bidnai subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the first things that Prophet did is to build a mosque. Remember, before even building his house, he was a guest of somebody for a long period of time. But the first things he did is to build a mosque, which is really important, my dear brothers and sisters. I wish we care about the masajid as Prophet used to care about it. So we remember that no community would establish without having masjid. If it's happened that you go in anywhere, any community, they have no masjid, encourage them to build a masjid. You could maybe as a beginning, as a start, they might rent a place. And then eventually they will see the importance of that, and then they will come to build a mosque. This is really important, my dear brothers and sisters. They will tell you the debate happened before they built this mosque, where they have a house of gathering, and after the fire they decide to demolish it and build something. There's a debate happen, and at the end they decide, you know what, we have to build a mosque. Not like a club, not like in another building. No, what we need a mosque. And alhamdulillah, that was the first Berbers mosque, the first Berbers built mosque in Ontario. That's, you know, how when they came with that. Which that's a sadaqah jariyah, goes to those people at the first place. They insist to build the mosque, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower them with a great mercy at this moment. Quickly, we'll go to the second element, which is really important, the mu'akha. Bringing people together. You know what is mu'akha? That's bringing another dimension for a brotherhood and sisterhood, where the Prophet ﷺ link between the Sahaba. For example, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib and Mu'adh ibn Jabal are brothers. Hamza ibn Abdul Muttalib and Zayd ibn Haritha are brothers. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and Kharija ibn Zuhayr are brothers. Umar ibn Khattab and Uthman ibn Malik are brothers. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf and Sa'd ibn Rabi'a are brothers. When you say, what do you mean are brothers? They inherit each other. And that was coming first, before even the law of inheritance, that those comes from the same blood, they inherit each other. Subhanallah, it's the relation, how it was used, is something amazing. And they share everything. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ declared that the love of Ansar is a sign of Iman. The love of Ansar is a sign of Iman, which is really important. Any person that carry hatred against Ansar or speaking negative about them, there's a lack of Iman of that person. There's a question mark. And by the way, Abu Hurairah is from Ansar, yes? Yeah? So, there are some people, they hate Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and they speak badly about him. You know, anyway, Abu Hurairah is from Ansar or from Muhajirin? What do you think? Now we consider ourselves Muhajirin or Ansar? Huh? Salman from Muhajirin or from Ansar? Salman al-Farisi. Actually, one day, the Sahaba debate. Some of them said, Salmanu minna. The Muhajirin, they count him as his Muhajir because he left his home and he came to Medina. Ansar, they said, no, he's among us. He's from us. Because when the Prophet arrived in Medina, he was in Medina. And when the Prophet looked at them, they are debating. He said, Salmanu minna al-bayt. He's among us, Salman. Because, you know, subhanallah, that's a great honor that Salman was given. And anyone loves the Prophet, he will belong to the Prophet ﷺ. But again, the Prophet made mu'akha between Muhajir and Ansar. And that was for the first year and a half, or almost 2 years. Until battle over, and Allah revealed Quran, and Allah said, وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ. So now, those, they share the rahim, those are relatives, those, they have priority over others in the law of inheritance. So in one period of time, that was the relation between Muhajirin and Ansar. It was an amazing relation. We should learn from it. I will say at this time, we should consider ourselves as Ansar, and those accepted Islam and they came to us, those are Muhajirin. I think the category of Ansar apply on us in that case. Somebody grew up in whatever, like, culture or background, grew up as a Christian, for example, and then he accepted Islam. For me, that's like Ansari. Like Muhajir. And he need us. He need our support. As the Ansar gave the support to Muhajirin. Are we ready to apply that system? This is a great system that Rasulullah introduced. And actually we should learn from that. I feel this is the best system to maintain the iman and the hearts of those accepting Islam. Not just we will come them at the day of Shahada and then we'll forget about them. No, we should really have that ties between us and them. And actually, those one of the plans. I'm working on it, and I need your help to really put that in a place. Let's really make it happen, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we're going to work on this. I'm going to update you about that. And we'll send an announcement who will be the Ansari to welcome those Muhajirin. May Allah bless you all. We'll stop at this point, inshallah, and continue next time, about the most important things that Rasulullah did at the beginning when he arrived Medina. So the first things he did, he built a mosque. The second things he did right away to bring the Sahaba together, Muhajirin and Ansar, in the city of Medina. Yes, if any of you have any question, go ahead. Yes, please. Yeah, that's a good question. During Ramadan, we're going to have multiple programs. If you like the Seerah, we can continue with the Seerah, or we can stop and continue after Ramadan. I'm open for any suggestion. For any of you have any suggestion, I'm open for any suggestion for any program during Ramadan, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. Yes, sure. No, sure, inshallah. Okay. Bi'idhnillah. And then next week, inshallah, we'll announce fiqh siyam. We'll give a few halaqat about the rules of fasting, so to remind ourselves and inshallah to be ready for the month of Ramadan. And inshallah, we'll announce that soon, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan. وبارك الله فيكم. اللهم علمنا ما جهلنا وذكرنا ما نسينا وفقنا في ديننا واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد بقدر حبك فيه وزدنا يا مولانا حبا فيه. اللهم اجعلنا من أحبابك ولا تطردنا عن بابك وهب لنا صحبة أوليائك وباعد بيننا وبين أعدائك من رب العالمين. آمين آمين آمين. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت